Hello there everyone, Lumar here. I think throughout the build up to the release of this film, people were a bit skeptical over whether it will be a return to form or if it's just going to be bad again. One thing I'm going to praise this film off right from the start is the fact that it is not connected to anything else whatsoever. I think people have gotten fatigued from Marvel, not just because of the lackluster writing, but because everything's just kind of connected to the point where it can be a bit confusing trying to keep up with everything. There's so many shows and movies that contradict each other in terms of world building and how time travel and multiversal things work, things like that. And to make things even worse, if you're someone who doesn't really watch the Disney Plus shows, you're going to be completely out of the loop on some of these movies. Why is Wanda evil when she was fine at the end of Endgame? Why is Loki back alive when he was dead? Just things like that. So I'm really glad that this film is just its own complete new universe that has nothing connected whatsoever to the previous films. It means you can just go in, watch it, and you don't really have to think about anything else and how that relates to the movie. You just go in and watch it and enjoy it. So props for that right off the board. I really hope we start getting more Marvel films that are just independent and standalone and don't require so much knowledge and detail surrounding the film, because it's been really nice to just watch this film and not have to think about how it relates to other films. So for a start, it opens up with a sort of montage of the history of this world, seeing all the different world building elements from how the Fantastic Four came to be, to all the villains, to all the different technological marvels, things like that. We also get to see the family dynamics as well as people's reaction to when Sue announces that she's pregnant. All of a sudden, the Silver Surfer comes down and announces that the world is going to get eaten by Galactus. Reed manages to track her energy signature because he's been tracking her signature throughout the universe, and he's noticed that whenever she goes to these places, the planet ends up getting destroyed. So they track her down and they manage to use some faster than light technology to launch a ship and get to the new planet that they're going to, arriving just in time to see this planet get devoured by Galactus. They meet with Galactus and he tells them he'll spare Earth if they give him the child that Sue is carrying. Obviously they refuse and they get in a fight with the Silver Surfer and then they try and escape. The Silver Surfer gives chase throughout the galaxy, but they manage to slow her down and get back to Earth. During the chase, Sue also manages to give birth to a healthy baby boy named Franklin, who apparently has extraordinary powers and Galactus wants him. So they get back to Earth and announce to the press that Galactus is still coming and he wants to devour their world, also revealing they refuse to give him Franklin, with the people of Earth turning against the Fantastic Four, viewing them as selfish for not wanting to save them for the sake of their child. Sue eventually manages to turn them around and say that she's trying to save everyone, including her son, and everyone bands together to create some teleportation fields that will teleport the Earth away from where it currently is and into a different part of the universe, where it will take Galactus millions of years to try and find them again. Just before they're able to successfully teleport the Earth away, the Silver Surfer arrives and she destroys most of the teleportation devices. Johnny has managed to study her language and manages to communicate with her, finding out bits and pieces of her history and then broadcasting a message full of all of the victims that have died because of her, causing her to break down and flee away. The Fantastic Four decide to use Franklin to lure Galactus in, and then they will use the final teleportation machine that they have to teleport him somewhere else in the galaxy instead, meaning he'll be stranded and unable to get to them for a very long time. They manage to get him to the teleportation device, and right before Johnny is about to sacrifice himself, the Silver Surfer returns and throws herself in with Galactus, teleporting both of them to the outer regions of space. Sue dies from the use of her powers, but Franklin manages to bring her back to life and everyone on the planet celebrates so they get to live. In a post-credit scene, we see Sue playing with Franklin, with there now being a 4-year time skip. And when she comes back to read his favourite book to him, we see a green cloaked figure with a metal mask talking to him, obviously setting up Doctor Doom and the Avengers Doomsday film. So yeah, the plot's actually quite simple. There's no real complicated like time travel mechanics or any of this other stuff that they've been doing recently. It's just a very straightforward film. And yeah, I had quite a positive experience with it. So I'll start by giving this film some praise. I really like the opening credit scene for this movie. It's very reminiscent of the kind of 60s sort of era. And I thought the initial scene of them meeting for dinner and Sue's pregnancy was a really good scene that really showed off their characters. You instantly know who these people are and what they're about and how they view things, and yeah, it was really good for the characters. It can be quite difficult to do that with characters, especially when you've got 4 characters introduced at the same time, but yeah, the scene did a really good job. Another thing that I liked is the exposition dump that they do. Now, usually exposition dumps are just really terrible in media. Usually I dislike them mostly for the fact that they're just big, massive blocks of information that's just thrown at the audience. Or even worse, it's 2 people talking to each other about stuff they already know, so they don't really need to talk to each other about it. They're just doing it to inform the audience. But here they do it in a way that's actually quite good. They're doing a live talk show event celebrating the anniversary of the Fantastic Four, and in it we get a montage of them. But obviously the presenter is telling this to the audience and to the people watching at home, so it makes sense why this is here, allowing both the people of the world and the audience watching the film to be informed at the same time. I also like the history of this world. It's not some stagnant world where they've just recently become the Fantastic Four and then they're just doing this new battle now. No, they've been the Fantastic Four for 4 years, and because of that, they've had different villains try and attack the world. They've been involved in diplomatic and political events. And yeah, you really get a sense that these are landmarks of this world. These people are very significant figures who have a big impact in it. And to be honest, in general, the aesthetic of the world is really nice to look at. I really like stuff like Fallout, where it's this retro-futuristic look to it. And here they just managed to nail it perfectly, in my opinion. This is how a retro-futuristic world should look like. The cars look great, the advertisements in Times Square look amazing. All of the costumes and how people dress just look appropriate. They look really nice. So yeah, really good job there. And on top of that, the music is also really good. And they don't just keep it as this kind of orchestral music like the main soundtrack. There's a bit during the chase scene in space and they start having kind of synthwave vibes put into it. I'm not really a musician, so I can't really break down why it works so well, but overall, yeah, the soundtrack was really good. Speaking of things being really good, the special effects were also pretty great. There's a few scenes with the baby that's CGI and you can tell that things don't really look right. But to be honest, besides that, most of the other CGI throughout this film was really good. Once Galactus is announced and people of the Earth know he's coming, I really like the different world building events that they have to signify how people might react to him. And one small detail I really liked was the fact that there's just a doomsday cult that's built around him now. I feel like that's how something in real life would happen if some alien overlord came to destroy us. There would be people that just worship it for what it is. So yeah, I don't know, I like that scene a lot. So yeah, there is a lot to love about this movie, especially in terms of casting. I know a lot of people were uncertain about the casting choices, especially Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic, but to be honest, he nails it pretty well. He's got this kind of autistic vibe to him, where he really wants to kind of be a good father and the moral and emotional decisions. But he's a man of science and he needs to do things in a specific way and he needs to think about things in a specific way. So he finds out that Sue's pregnant and he has this really joyful look to him and he's really happy. And then, you know, just like that, he starts going on about all the different things they're going to have to buy and all the different protocols he's going to introduce to make sure the baby's safe, things like that. Yeah, I think he did a good job. Same for the rest of the cast. I think they really encapsulated what these characters are. I know that throughout the year there's been some concern about the Human Torch and how Johnny was apparently not going to be a womanizer like he usually is, and he's going to be more emotional and kind of toned down. But to be honest, he wasn't really that bad. He still tries to hit on the Silver Surfer. He's still making jabs and pulling pranks on people. He's just doing it in a more light-hearted manner, which, to be honest, I didn't mind. They've had these powers for 4 years. They've bonded together a lot. So if this is his character development and who he is now, yeah, that's fair enough. I thought the chase scene through space was really good. I liked how they've got this sort of unstoppable object chasing after them. So in order to get rid of her, they have to kind of introduce her to a immovable object as well, forcing her to get stuck in a black hole and suspended there for, I think, about a month, something like that, due to the time dilation. Yeah, I thought that was a really clever and interesting way to take on this cosmic super speed powered being. The final fight and how they plan to fight Galactus was okay. I think the plan itself is solid. I just think the execution of how they did it was a bit weird. I'll talk about that in the cons. But overall, it was a decent conclusion to the movie. Now, on to the cons. So, the one thing I dislike about the main cast is Ben's voice. Now, I know that people are saying that he's a monster on the outside, but he's human on the inside, and having him have a regular human voice just kind of emphasizes that. But it's really unnatural, and I don't just mean it doesn't sound like how he looks. I mean, the voice just, I don't know, the voice just does not fit him as it is. No disrespect to the guy who played him, it's just, it doesn't sound right. One thing I like about the Thing is he looks and sounds like a monster, but he's like really emotional and he's a really good person. So having this voice, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. If you enjoyed it, fair enough. So after the Silver Surfer arrives and she tells everyone that they're about to die, and the Fantastic Four trying to figure out what to do, they talk about Johnny having his little moment with the Silver Surfer, and yeah, I don't know, they just kind of ruin the tension that's been built up so they can make a joke about Johnny, you know, having a thing for this woman. I thought the scene was doing a really good job of emphasizing the horror that Galactus brings just by mentioning his name. But then they just start cracking wise about the fact that Johnny talked to this alien babe. I don't know, I was just really enjoying these people react to the knowledge that something's going to destroy their world and take everything they love. And then it just ends on a joke. Just kind of ruins the tension a bit. I think it's a bit convenient that they arrive literally right as the planet is getting destroyed. Obviously, it's a coincidence thing. You know, it's a contrivance. It's not the worst thing ever. They also made Galactus a bit of a dick for some reason. Now, obviously, Galactus, he has to eat in order to survive. He's not doing what he does because he likes doing it. He's doing it because it has to be done. So it's gotten to the point where even in comics, when people are asking the Fantastic Four, is Galactus a villain? They can't really say that he is because they know him and they know that he's not doing what he does out of evil intentions. It's just what he is as a thing. So when you've got Galactus come in here and he's basically trying to force their baby away from them and talking about how they're gonna slowly devour their world in front of their child and things like that. I don't know, they just kind of made Galactus a dick for no reason. They kind of removed some of the nuance from him, you know? There's a scene where they're back on Earth and they're talking about how they're going to destroy kind of Galactus's ship and stop him. And they point out that conventional weapons don't work in destroying a ship. But before that, we saw Johnny going around destroying parts of it with his powers. And then later when they get back to the ship and they're trying to escape, they blow a hole through the ship to escape. So can conventional weapons and Johnny's powers work on the ship or not? Because, I don't know, you showed that happening in that scene and then you're telling us that it shouldn't have happened. I don't know. I also think it's a bit convenient that all of this happens right as Mr. Fantastic creates a teleportation device. Like literally as he has created this device and teleported an egg, they have another scene and then the Silver Surfer arrives. So yeah, again, another convenience. Right before they're about to activate the teleportation devices and take Earth away from where Galactus is, the Silver Surfer arrives right at the last second. Again, another convenience. Now, Johnny talks to her and I understand that he has been listening to the recordings and trying to understand her language, but he got like really fluent in it quite quick, which I think would be a bit difficult. So not only did he manage to break down this language and learn what letters of their alphabet correlate to ours, but he also became fluent in it in this short time. I don't know, it would have been better if he was speaking in kind of broken versions of her language. At least that would make sense, that he knows bits and pieces enough to communicate with her but not be fluent. But no, he's just fluent apparently. They realize they need to lure Galactus in, and to do that, they have to get the civilians out of the way, otherwise he might kill them. So, for some reason, instead of taking them out of New York, they put them under New York, where the Mole Man lives, in Subterranea, underneath New York. And I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they didn't just evacuate everyone out of the city, because as Galactus is walking through, he's so big and heavy that he nearly, like, caves in the top. Like, people can see the roof moving and shit. So, I don't know. Subterranean must not be that deep then, in which case, I don't know why they would do that. So, yeah, they might as well have just put them in, like, a subway tunnel and hoped for the best, because that's basically what Subterranea is. It's like a subway tunnel of a city that's underneath New York, which could cave in at any moment because of Galactus stomping on it. They have Franklin in the middle of this teleportation device so they can lure Galactus in, and then Johnny blinds him, and then he swaps the kind of baby carriers that they're in, so he'll think Galactus will be getting Franklin for the swapped out one, and Franklin's going to be safely in the tower. I don't know why they do it so soon. Galactus is nowhere near the teleportation device, so he has to walk all the way there, and he can easily scan if Franklin is still in that baby carrier. So I don't know why they activate this trap so quick. I don't know why they had to do that when they did. They should have waited until he got close to him before doing that. Yeah, it just comes across as a very idiotic decision for quite a good plan. There's a bit where Johnny rescues Ben and they're falling from the sky, and he asks him to say clobbering time, and eventually Ben does, and it's the shittest clobbering time that I've ever heard. Honest, this is what I mean by the voice. It sounds like there was no effort put into it whatsoever, just some guy like screeching out clobbering time. I don't know, they had this whole movie building up to him saying it, and it was just quite shit in my opinion. Galactus is a being that is billions of years old, who has all of this power and technology to destroy planets in minutes, and yet Sue is able to basically 1v1 him for about 2 or 3 minutes by herself. That seems a bit far-fetched for me. I understand she's straining a lot and he is fighting back against it, but she just pushes him all the way down the street, and yeah, I feel like if the Fantastic Four are this powerful, they should have no problems taking him on. But yeah, she can just 1v1 him, apparently. So the Silver Surfer had disappeared, and at no point throughout this entire fight did Galactus try and get her to help him. He just did not seem to care that his warrior and his herald just was sat back doing nothing as the Fantastic Four beat the shit out of him. And yeah, she doesn't even help them either. It's not like she felt guilty and then decided to help them to stop Galactus. She just kind of chilled somewhere, just not doing anything, and she only shows up right at the last minute when Johnny is about to sacrifice himself. It just kind of feels like a rushed redemption arc. They should have had her be conflicted. They should have cut from the fighting to her, showing her struggling to decide what to do, and in the end she decides to do the right thing. But no, she just appears at the last minute and saves Johnny and stops Galactus, and yeah, that's the end of her arc. So yeah, quite rushed, and she should have had more of an impact in the final battle. So Sue collapses from the strain and she ends up dying. And Reed is just doing CPR on her. I feel like in this world with all this magical technology, he really should have had something on hand to try and stabilize her and bring her back to life. You know, some sort of machine that could easily be teleported. Some sort of machine that could easily be transported to where they are and can give medical attention. But no, he just does CPR for a minute and hopes for the best. That's the plan of the smartest man in the universe. That's the plan of the smartest man alive. And then yeah, he struggles to save her, and he's crying and he's begging and he's cradling his son. And Johnny, who is Sue's sister, is just kind of sat there like, uh-huh. They really should have gotten another take where maybe there was some tears or something. Just not just him staring with his mouth open, just kind of chilling there. It was just really hilarious seeing Pedro Pascal put in this heartbreaking performance of him cradling his dead wife and trying to console his child, and then Johnny's just stood there open-mouthed like He's so fucking gormless in that scene. I don't know what they were thinking. So obviously Reed, he's trying to come up with solutions to stop the Galactus problem. Sue, she's trying to struggle with kind of the human relations around the world and with being a mother. And Johnny, he's trying to figure out the language and come up with a way to try and stop the Silver Surfer. Ben's just kind of not really doing much in this film. He's got some really nice personal scenes with the rest of the cast, and obviously he helps out when there's a fight going. But they just kind of don't really know what else to do with him, so they just give him some sort of a relationship for him to try and get into, which also doesn't really go anywhere by the end of the film, so it just kind of feels like a waste of time. And they end the movie on the group trying to get ready to go and stop a threat that's appearing, and for some reason they're bringing the baby along with them to a fight scene, and they're trying to get the kind of baby buggy in the car and get it sorted so the baby isn't going to be moving around in the fantastic car. And it's a joke that goes on for too long. It goes on way too long. But overall, I thought this was a pretty decent film. I think it's probably been the most solid film that they've done in a while, because it's just its own singular narrative. There's nothing to contradict it. There's nothing that it has to abide by. It's just telling the story it needs to tell. And yeah, overall, I think this is probably Marvel's best film in a while. Not Thunderbolts, not Deadpool and Wolverine. Those are trash. But this one is a decent watch, and yeah, I would highly encourage you to go and see it because they've put the effort in this time. Thanks for watching, lads and lasses. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing and checking out some of my other videos. Sharing always helps, and if you're feeling really generous, please consider my Patreon or YouTube membership. I also have a Twitter and occasionally I do live streams. But most of all, I just hope you had a great day, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.